nos Cabo Verde de esperança. Esperança num dia não pode bem viver treto.
You are listening to 88 FM, community-supported public radio. This is Excursiones Musicales, and I'm your host, Susan Hurley-Glowa. This program is brought to you through the generous support of the Hermes Music Foundation. Excursiones Musicales is a 30-minute radio show that will use events in the Department of Music at the University of Texas, Brownsville as a stepping stone to music in the Rio Grande Valley and beyond in a series of sound excursions. I teach music at UTB, and along with playing good tracks on this show, I'll try to explain a little about what you're hearing to enhance your listening pleasure and appreciation. This weekly show, Excursiones Musicales, is associated with the newly approved UTB Center of Excellence for Latin American and Iberian Music, which pools together our faculty's strengths and interest in these areas. Excursiones Musicales today will focus on the music of an extraordinary person named Norberto Tavares, in honor of his birthday on the 6th of June. Norberto was born in 1956, so he would have been 57 this year. Unfortunately, he died of complications from diabetes right after Christmas in 2010. It's going to take a bit of explaining to understand why Norberto and his songs matter, but I can tell you that he's not forgotten by his countrymen back in the Cape Verde Islands. You might well be thinking, Cape Verde Islands? Never heard of them. That's okay, they're small. They're a string of islands located about 350 miles off the west coast of Africa, and the people who live there are the descendants of Africans brought to the islands as slaves and Portuguese who governed the islands until independence in 1975. So who was Norberto Tavares? He was a singer, composer, band leader, and advocate for human rights who helped shape public ideas about a new Cape Verde in the decades after independence. He used his music to insist on fair treatment for all Cape Verdeans, regardless of their color or gender, and he adapted an Afro-Cape Verdean accordion dance music style called funana to carry many of his messages. Norberto spent most of his adult life in southern New England. Many Cape Verdean immigrants live in that area, especially in New Bedford, Providence, and Boston. Now, I first met Norberto in 1990 when I was living in Providence, Rhode Island, and he was the second Cape Verdean I met. We ended up working together for 2 decades on many projects. In his final years, his contributions to Cape Verdean culture were acknowledged by many Cape Verdeans, and a cultural center was named for him in the center of his hometown, Assomada. Norberto wrote hundreds of songs in his native language called Crioulo, which is a Portuguese-based Creole. As young Cape Verdean scholars and fans continue to work through his songs, the poetic depth of his messages is becoming more and more apparent. Let's begin with a song called África do Sul, Vergonha do século XX, or South Africa, Shame of the 20th Century. The song, written in about 1987 or 88, is a song protesting apartheid or racial segregation practices in South Africa, which were finally abolished in the early 90s. Norberto's song is specifically about South Africa here, but he was an advocate for equal rights throughout the world. Here's the words in translation. Son, fresh from your mother's womb, why were you born? What have you come to do in this world? In this confiscated world full of slavery, misery peers in on the wealthy through the window. In this whole 20th century, there are people living in oppression, like this apartheid in South Africa. Fascist bigots, they say they're the superior race, but only an inferior can do the things they do. A man's destiny is a strange thing. If we start to think about it, we can even blame God. But we shouldn't think about it. We have to accept it. The suffering of each day is enough to bear.
O cebo bem fácil, ribes mundo. Um mundo confiscado, cheio de escravatura. Miséria, estás preta a fartura através de uma janela. Filho parido para que nasce. Com o cebo bem fácil, ribes mundo. Um mundo confiscado, cheio de escravatura. Miséria, estás preta a fartura através de uma janela. Mas pleno século XX está vivendo um oprimido. Sim, mas superior, mas sou um inferior, não faço coisas e maqueu. Destino de homem é coisa galante. Se não põe na cudel, de próprio Deus não te crê culpado. Mas que no cudel não tem que ser tal. Basta cada dia com ser martírio. Só que não fica parado de mão cruzado. Cada dia luta por um descanso final. Descanso final.
That was the song South Africa, Shame of the 20th Century by the Cape Verdean musician and humanitarian Norberto Tavares from his album Jornada de Badiou, released in 1989. Now, many of Norberto's songs carried heavy social messages, but he could write a good dance song too. One of my favorites is Forte Budanku Stango, which means something like, "Girl, your beauty hits me like a strong punch in the belly," which is pretty hard to translate. Here's a rough take on the lyrics. "Hey girl, I feel you strong on my stomach. I've been in this world a long time, but I've never seen a girl like you. Your eyes, your mouth, your nose are all beautifully formed. Your teeth are nice and straight. Your hair is nice and smooth. Hey girl, tell me where you've been hiding. Tell me which mother's sweet milk you were raised on."
Kiasana mundu kwa Japon fami simapo. Jadiana mundu kwa Japon fami simapo. Kiasana mundu kwa Japon fami simapo. Uocho kupoka bu nariz é tudo bem formado. O dente bem cerrado. Bem cerrado, o cabelo bem sentado. É bom, menina. Tranquilete doce que perigo. É bom, menina. Pra onde você estava sucumbido.
You just heard the song Forte Budanku Stango by Cape Verdean musician Norberto Tavares. Norberto wrote many songs with heavy political messages, although they were often veiled in metaphors and open to interpretation. In the late 1980s, he wrote a song that made the one-party government in Cape Verde very uncomfortable. It was called "I'm the Owner of My Own Mind" in English. Now, this song didn't directly attack the Cape Verdean government in power, but it certainly suggested that it was corrupt and deceptive. His fellow Cape Verdeans definitely took Norberto's suggestions to heart when they went to the voting booths shortly after the song's release. They voted in a new party establishing a democratic multi-party system that's been going strong ever since. Here are some of the words of the song in translation. "I am the owner of my own mind. Even if you want to change it, you can't. Bind my feet, bind my hands, bind my mouth. You can't bind my thoughts. Like a mouse, you nibble and blow. Like a chameleon, you change color to match your surroundings. You master in deception. You bait us to suck out our bone marrow. But you can't deceive my intestines or even my bowels or even more importantly, my brain. Right now, people don't buy words with credit. Right now, even a lie well told can be unmasked. With politics that can generate criticism, with a myth that can bring conflict to the nation, with democracy full of bureaucracy just because of aristocracy in the nation, with an economy full of utopia just because of nobility in the nation, with many religions that use seduction, they make divisions, even more confusion in the nation. Right now, people don't buy words with credit. Right now, even a lie well told can be unmasked.
Na minha juíza mi que te manda. Nem que concreto canhei pouca poder. Marampe, maramó, maramboca. Capô de maram pensamento. Se marato da morte botar sopra. Se macamalhão tem cor de ambiente. Bué cursado, na engano. Na tangoda, botar chupa, tutano. Babu canganão, nem a tripa. Nem a bofe, bofe, que faria miolo. Hoje em dia, converso, fiado, catarra, comprado. Hoje em dia, de mentira, bem contado, tá desmascarado. Hoje em dia, converso, fiado, catarra, comprado. Hoje em dia, de mentira, bem contado, tá desmascarado. Política que tá gera crítica, o mito que tá por conflito na nação. Democracia cheia de burocracia, só babia da aristocracia na nação. Com economia cheia de utopia, só babia de fidalguia na nação. Um monte de religião, da usa sedução, da face divisão, mas confusão na nação. Hoje em dia, converso, fiado, catarra, comprado. Hoje em dia, de mentira, bem contado, tá desmascarado. Hoje em dia, converso, fiado, catarra, comprado. Hoje em dia, de mentira, bem contado, tá desmascarado. Na minha juíza vi que tá manda. Nem que eu creto canhei pouca poder. Marampe, maramó, maramboca. Capô de maram pensamento. Se marato da morte da sopra. Se macamalhão tem cor de ambiente. Vai passado, na engano. Na tangoda, botar chupa, tutano. Babu canganão, nem a tripa. Nem a bofe, bofe, que farinha miolo. O canganão, nem a tripa. Nem a bofe, bofe, que farinha miolo. Na minha juíza é mi que comanda. Ganhei poder. Marapé, maramó, maramboca. Maram pensamento. Marapé, maramó, maramboca. Maram pensamento. Marapé, maramó, maramboca.
That was the song Na Juiz e Mi Quitamanda by Norberto Tavares. Today's show is celebrating the life of Cape Verdean American musician Norberto Tavares. Norberto was born in Cape Verde Islands off the coast of West Africa, but he lived later on in New Bedford, Massachusetts. That didn't stop him from writing songs for his people back in Cape Verde. In fact, his ideas for a new democratic nation really helped to shape public opinion during the years after independence. Norberto was a sort of conscience of Cape Verde, fighting for better conditions for everyone back home. One of his songs, Maria Encantada Trabalhadera, or Enchanted Maria, Worker, is a plea for Cape Verdean men to treat their women better. In the song, he lists off all the work tasks that a woman has to do each day, moving from one task to the next in a kind of trance, and he suggests that if he were there, he would marry her and help her out so she didn't have to do it all by herself. He said that he wrote the song to let Cape Verdean men know that it was okay to help women out. It wasn't a threat to their masculinity, and it was the only fair way to distribute the daily workload. So up next is Maria Encantada Trabalhadeira by Norberto Tavares. I just played part of Maria Encantada Trabalhadeira, written and performed by Cape Verdean musician Norberto Tavares around 1989. Today's show features the music of my old friend Norberto. Nearly every song that Norberto wrote was tied to place, to its cultural context in Cape Verde. In this next song, Jornada de Badiou, or A Badiou's Journey, it tells the tale of a young man who travels from village to village in the mountainous interior of the island of Santiago, looking for adventure and maybe love. Alas, the girls aren't interested in him because he isn't wearing bell-bottom jeans. He's riding a donkey instead of a motorcycle and his pockets are empty. But he has a good time seeing relatives, enjoying the views, and having some food and drinks with the folks along the way. Jornada de Badiou.
o sorgo com chimosas bonita, cavalo de nada, vamos em caleba, nem caro nem moto, nem calça boca sino, nem dinheiro na bolso. Dinheiro na bolso. Dinheiro na bolso. O sorgo conquista moças bonita, cavalo de nada, vamos em caleba, nem caro nem moto, nem calça boca assim, nem dinheiro na bolso. Dinheiro na bolso. Dinheiro na bolso. Dinheiro na bolso. Barro, cavalo, montado num besta, bem socado, mas burba festa. Festa, turba festa. Ba matinho, riba matinho, sube cutelo mendimba, minha quentes, minha quentes, minha quentes. Ba matinho, riba matinho, sube cutelo mendimba, minha quentes.
That was A Badiou's Journey by Norberto Tavares as part of a memorial show honoring the musical contribution of this Cape Verdean composer on what would have been his 57th birthday. Norberto died about 2.5 years ago following a long struggle with diabetes. Norberto's songs had the ability to provoke action to set right injustices, but he could also write songs that brought people together, which was really important in the years right after independence. His song Nos Capo Verde de Esperança, or Our Cape Verde of Hope, has become an informal national anthem and is still popular today. Norberto, in fact, wrote an official national anthem for Cape Verde. He and I notated it and entered it in a competition held in about 1991 for a new national anthem. For reasons unknown, his song wasn't chosen, but he continued to write anthems to pull Cape Verdeans together. He released one such song, called Hino de Unificação, on an album in 1993 that had many songs about making democracy work in Cape Verde. In the song Hino de Unificação, he wrote a French horn part for me, and we recorded it in his small studio apartment in New Bedford. Some of my friends came in as background singers, too. The words express a vision of hope for a united Cape Verde. They go something like this. Let's unite our forces with motivation, with enthusiasm. Let's dry this lagoon of separation. Let us sow understanding with the seed of brotherhood so that we can reap the fruit of our union. Let's make our 10 islands into a single world, and without dirtiness, without separation by miles, without separation of the people. Let's exalt our spirit, shared with all free beings that are liberated in just one cry. Come, brother, come sing with us to augment the force of this confirmation. Come, brother, exalt with us to augment the faith of this prayer. Come say that we're one people, although the sea separates us. Have faith and hope, too. Have pride in being special people. On this anniversary of Norberto Tavares' birth, let's try to keep his vision going. and keep working to make the whole world a better place where equality and hope for a good life is extended to all citizens.
No bem une-nos força com vontade e com gosto. No bem secas lagoa de separação. No bem entendimento com semente de irmandade, para não poder colher fruto de nossa união. No bem fazem nós desilha mundo só e sem lodo, sem separação famílias, sem separação de povo. Nesse momento sagrado exalta no espírito, se mate o ser caprido e liberta num só grito. Escrito canta conosco, aumenta a força dessa confirmação. Bem, irmão, exalta-nos, aumenta a fé dessa oração. Mesmo que mar tá separando, tem fé, esperança também, tem orgulho de um povo sem igual. Nos Cabo Verde de esperança, esperança num dia não pode vir entre